Welcome to I'll Be There, the ultimate wedding podcast by Priya
and Nim
from Pristine Events. Whether you're a bride-to-be
or a groom gearing up
or just a wedding lover at heart, we've got you.
Welcome back to another episode of I'll Be There. I'm Nim.
I'm Priya.
And today, what are we going to be talking about?
We are going to be talking about things that go wrong at weddings.
Yes, we are. So you thought that I forgot what I was going to say, but I was just doing it as if I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And as if something was going wrong, but it wasn't.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Very on theme, very on theme.
Very meta.
Yes. Nim and I actually just got back from some site visits in Abu Dhabi.
We did.
We literally landed yesterday, so it's been a bit all over the place. But it was really fun. It was good. We saw some really nice venues like the Shangri-La, the W, Saudi Up Beach Club, Fairmont. And it's really important because we always will try and add on venues and properties to our destination portfolio. So when we're speaking to couples, we can kind of align them with properties that fit their requirements. But it's really important for us to try and go and see them and get a feel for the space.
Yeah, because couples will approach us and often they may have already picked their venue, but sometimes they have no idea. They don't know what country, they don't even know what continent. And so it does fall on our shoulders sometimes to have a good understanding of different spaces and different locations.
And sometimes you don't know until you go there. And I'm laughing because, so basically on the flight there, I had said to Nim, honestly about 8 times, to the point where he just stopped replying, how I was really excited to go to Abu Dhabi because really peaceful. And I was like, I just feel like recently I've been so overstimulated with like just Christmas and like just really fun things, but it's been a lot. So I was like, I'm so excited to be understimulated this trip, like just lie flat in silence after the meetings and relax. And we got to the W and I knew it was based within the racetrack, but I didn't realise that on random days there would be people also driving. So then when we first got there and we like got to the pool, make the sound that was going on.
That's honestly every 10 seconds for about 3 or 4 hours of the day.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Which is, I mean, if you're like an F1 couple, like lover, like, which we had a few of last year, that'd be a sick place to get married at. Like,
yeah,
honestly.
There were people who picked their seating plan based on the different Formula One tracks around the world. So it's a nice novelty to have, but I think it is quite an intense place to stay the night with that amount of noise. All hours of the day. Yeah,
amazing property. But like for example, with that, had we not gone there and stayed, we wouldn't have known. So we'd be aware of that before recommending it to couples. So anyway, it was a fun few days. I'll be putting some stuff up on socials, so you guys can see some of the venues. Abu Dhabi's a great. We loved it. It was a great destination. And I think for those of you thinking about the Middle East, definitely consider Abu Dhabi as well as Bahrain, Dubai, etc. But yeah. So that was our week, and now we are here. And we thought a lot of people focus so much on obviously the planning and organisation of weddings, but not enough people talk about what goes wrong at weddings. And as we've seen, as the team have seen, things go wrong at weddings all the time. And you can be the most organised person, the most like type A person. You can have every spreadsheet, every checklist, but there will be things out of your control. So I thought today we could just talk about a few things that we've kind of been there for and had to try and resolve, and hopefully it will give people an idea of what goes wrong, but also how we save the day.
No, like you said, it's important because no matter how much you plan in a day for your wedding, if you don't have somebody there to sort of project manage the different scenarios and troubleshoot things that happen, then it's all going to fall on your shoulders. So let's just go through a few of these, and I think this will make good clickbait.
Okay, so why don't you go first and talk about when you basically became the main catering manager?
So I'm going to have to bleep out certain aspects of the story so that you can't work out whose wedding it was and where it was. But essentially, we were organising a wedding at a venue which was very unique, had never done an Indian wedding before. So we had the Indian caterer and myself had been there multiple times to this venue to check the kitchen logistics because everything was being brought in, the food, the crockery, the cooking utensils, everything. But unfortunately that catering manager had some personal circumstances in the week before the wedding, and so the backup slash deputy.
Deputy makes it sound like deputy
well,
head teacher.
He's second in charge, second in command, second in charge, came for the actual wedding and had never been to the kitchen, never been to the venue.
But also wasn't involved in any of the planning.
Yeah, wasn't involved in any of the planning. So, I mean, to some extent, didn't really know the menus that well.
Didn't know the menu.
And yeah, it just meant that I was in the kitchen for basically the entirety of the wedding, organising the logistics of where all the food's going to be served, what they're serving it in, the flow of the guests, the timings. Yeah, like a lot. Yeah. And I don't know what would have happened had I not been there. I don't mean that to toot my own trumpet, but genuinely, because how can you have somebody, managing a kitchen for an event that they didn't have any input into in terms of the planning, and also in a kitchen they'd never been to? It's, very
And
difficult.
also there was the added layer of working with some of the venue kitchen staff who were kind of involved, because the venue providing some food, the caterer providing some food, so it was kind of like managing two kitchen teams. But then it was like also making sure, because they wanted two of the same buffets out so that the queues wouldn't be very long.
Yeah.
So it was making sure there was space for both, where all the dishes would be. Like, we literally just didn't see you for that wedding because you were in the kitchen the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, you honestly, I didn't see you. But I'm glad, because it just meant that you were there to triple check what was going out, when it was being served, all the allergies or special dietaries were going to specific people, that the queues were being managed, and that both sets of the kind of in-house caterers and then the external kind of caterers were getting on.
But the issue with that is, so for the reception, so I was in the kitchen managing, because they had allocated certain tables, vegetarian tables, and just basically I was just kind of managing and coordinating which tables need to be served first, what food was going to certain tables, etc. And yeah, it was a very tight kitchen, a lot of chaos going on there, and then just someone turned around and then just curry went all over me.
That was really sad, because I think that was a really new co-ord that you had as well. And when you got home and I saw it, it was literally covered in bright
turmeric,
yellow, and I was like, there's no point me even washing this, it's not going to come out, so I had to go in the bin. So that was really sad, that at the end of your hard work of being the catering manager, you then got curry poured all over you. Good times, guys. This is the non-glamorous stuff that nobody sees, FYI. Okay, fine. So I think, again, that whole story was an example of sometimes the person who you've been managing and liaising with, the reality is that we are all people, so something can come up last minute and someone else has to step in charge. And if they haven't been involved in everything, it's a lot of pressure to put on them. So unless you've got a planner or someone who can step in and take that role, either they're going to wing it and it will probably go wrong, or they're going to come and speak to you as a couple, and you will be in there having those meetings, trying to figure out where you're going to set the buffet up, figure out the flow of the guests, try and speak to both the in-house caterers and the external caterers. And you don't want to be doing that on your wedding. You really don't. You haven't got the time for that. You've got photos to take and drinks to drink. So yeah, that's a story that we'll never forget. Okay, another one that we can think of is that this couple had decided to not do a physical bar and instead do table service.
Let's set the scene, okay, right? So it was a jam-packed room.
Yeah. And
I remember looking at the table plan.
The floor plan even. And just thinking, wait, something's missing. I was like, oh, right, yeah, the bar must be in another room. And then you were like, no, basically, in their culture, they don't have bars. What was there was some reason, or there wasn't any space? I think there wasn't enough space, and then I think also, I guess if you're doing table service, it's quite a premium thing to have your drinks brought to you, right, rather than you queuing at a bar.
Yeah. But there was some sort of miscommunication between the catering company saying that they would be able to do table service, and the couple thinking that the catering company are providing additional people to just purely give drinks to people at their tables.
Yeah.
So imagine an event where there's 250, 300 people in that room.
Yeah.
And they have allocated catering staff who are bringing their food out, and then each of these 300 people are asking for different drinks.
Yeah.
It is just chaos. And also because there's no longer a barrier of them having to go up to the bar, they'll just be like, yeah, I want this. There'll be 10 different drinks being ordered at the table, and the catering staff are dealing with the food. So then Priya and myself then had to go and pour all of these drinks for all of these guests.
Yeah.
It was chaos.
Yeah.
It was absolute chaos.
But I think had we not done that, it would have been more chaos. Like we kind of
Yeah, I mean, they would have actually probably had to come into the side room that we were pouring all these drinks
Yeah.
in and just come and collect their drinks themselves, which would have just been so tragic.
Yeah. But I think what we like, again, that wasn't our role. We
Yeah.
weren't being paid to do that. But we really loved this couple. We could see the guests were getting a little bit irate about the wait time that it took the catering staff to go and get their drinks. So we just took initiative and we were like, do you know what? We'll just do it. Like, so
Yeah.
then we just started taking orders.
Yeah.
I
And we
felt
had a little system going on.
we
I think,
did have a
which
little
worked quite well,
system
yeah.
going on, and we tried to group drinks together to be like, right, how many vodkas, how many gins.
Yeah.
Went and got it, brought it out, and was trying to do it as quickly as possible. Luckily this was during the meal time, so I'm pretty sure we didn't eat, but it's fine. We're getting our steps in,
Yeah.
so we're going back and forth. Then we were giving like Vegas style shot system out. You were bringing like this tray of shots onto
Well, no,
the
again,
dance
that was
floor.
the caterer. So the caterer said that they would do it, but then he was sort of just like hover on the side of the dance floor, and I'm like this couple, they're quite a vibey couple, like good energy in the crowd. They want drinks kind
Yeah.
of brought to them in the
Yeah.
middle of the crowd.
Yeah.
So then I had to take, because he kind of refused to go into the middle of the crowd, so I just took it off him and then just went into the
You did
middle.
well though. If I'd gone in there, I would have spilled everywhere. Also, because I'm small, I think people would have just knocked me around. But luckily, because you're tall, you just like carried it above. But yeah, like again, had we not been there, whose responsibility would it have been? Like the guests, they're not going to really come and complain to the bride and groom. They might, or complain to the parents to be like, no one's bringing us a drink. It's taking so long to
Yeah.
get drinks. The catering staff, they've only got the numbers that they've got there. They can't magic up an extra 10 people to take orders. So it would have just been that everyone would have been sober for ages because it was
Yeah.
taking like half an hour to get a drink.
But then it became confusing because then they thought we were the catering team. And so then they would just come up to you and be like, oh, my lamb's cold. I'm like, okay. Like, obviously I didn't say that. Like, I tried to sort it out. But it just became a bit confusing as to
Yeah.
what our roles were.
Yeah,
Because if we're then doing that, if we're then providing all the drinks, if there are other elements of the wedding that need to be organised or coordinated, we're
Yeah.
then no longer able to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's really important. Like, we're happy to help out where we can, but we don't want to then take away from what we should be doing.
Yeah.
And as you said, it's really important for us to define that, like, we aren't caterers, we are definitely not bartenders, but we are hard workers and we care about our couples. So if we have to go and pour shots and pour
Yeah,
drinks
yeah.
to stop your guests from complaining, we'll do it. Like, we don't have egos about it.
There's actually not a lot that we wouldn't do.
I know. Maybe that's where we're going wrong. We just do too much.
No, I don't think we're going wrong. I think it just is the reason why at the end of wedding season we just feel dead out, because
Yeah.
we're not just coordinating and planning, we're doing a bit of everything
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, so true. Okay, why don't you tell the story about when you were dealing with a celebrity performer?
Yeah, I
You
mean,
won't name them.
yeah, I won't name him, so that narrows it down by 50% of the world. Yeah, I mean, so when you have performers, they often come with a rider, so they're like list of requirements, and this performer's list of requirements were that he needs to have his own toilet. He can't share a toilet with the guests, which is kind of like weird. But then it also needs to
Yeah,
have
but I
his own
kind of
room.
get that from a point of view, like if you're sharing a toilet with a guest and they're going to see you, be like, oh, can I have a photo with you? Can I have your autograph? Like,
Yeah, I guess. But it just meant that the groom then gave up his own hotel room
yeah,
for a few hours of that evening,
Yeah.
so that this celebrity guest could come in and use his room. But then he had like a really specific list of dietary requirements that I'm pretty sure had never been communicated to us, because I said, do you want some food? Just being nice. And then he then followed it up with his list of requirements saying that he doesn't eat red meat, he eats certain types of fish, he's not vegetarian, doesn't like potato, just a bunch of things. And essentially I could only put 2 things on a plate for him. But his room, which was the groom's room, was about a 10-minute drive away, because it was on one of these sort of golf course type hotels.
oh yeah, I remember.
So yeah, I'm like shuttling like plates of curry back and forth between
In your car.
in my car.
This is what I mean, guys. Had we not been there, who is going to be taking a plate of curry in your car and driving it over 10 minutes to this celebrity performer so they can have their dinner? Because it's not going to be the bride and groom, it's not going to be your parents, probably not going to be your siblings, because they're probably a few drinks by then, like down by then. Who is it going to be? Like, these are the kind of things that you have to realize, that like as coordinators and as planners, like we are going the extra mile to basically like fill in these gaps so that everything can be as seamless as possible. The alternative is you don't have someone to sort this out, then that celebrity performer is going to be pissed off because their rider's not been stuck to, and they've not felt looked after, they're going to come on stage, not do a great job, not bring great energy, probably finish a bit early and be like, well, didn't listen to anything that I said. So you've got to think about these things like when you're planning, and just figure out who is doing all of these things.
Yeah. Why don't you tell our lovely listeners about the time that that the wedding that we did where the auntie wanted to add in 2 performances?
Oh gosh. I'm just laughing because I'm just thinking about all the awkward family situations that we've had to navigate in the last few years, because naturally brides and grooms would rather us say it than them say it, because it's obviously less awkward that way. So basically we were doing a wedding. I think it was one of the last weddings we did, not last year, the year before. So I was getting excited because I was like, oh, birthday mode on, out of office. And I think it was the auntie, I can't remember if it was of the bride or of the groom, basically came up and was like, I need to talk to you. And I was like, okay, is everything okay, auntie? And she was like, yep, so we're going to do surprise performances. And I was like, and this bride, by the way, for context, had been very particular and said, I don't want any surprise performances. We're only having the 6 speeches that are in the itinerary. If anyone comes up and tries to add anything, you have to say no. So for her already telling me that, I had a feeling someone at some point is going to say something, but it hadn't happened yet. And then she basically came up and was like, right, so we're going to do a surprise performance. We're going to get our nieces to sing Ed Sheeran Perfect as a surprise for the couple. And the thing is, kids' performances are really cute, right? I don't know if they're always the most appropriate for the reception, but if they are, then that's something the bride and groom should decide.
Yeah.
Or if you want to surprise them, maybe do it at a pre-event. But I think on their formal reception, and they want to make it a really formal, like luxury evening, I don't think they necessarily want 5-year-olds singing Ed Sheeran. So I politely was like, look, we've been really strict with our timeline. I don't think we're going to be able to fit that in. I'm so sorry. The couple were really strict about, and then she was like, no, but I'm the auntie. I can make these decisions. You can just add it in. And I was like, no, I appreciate that. And I know you obviously are really close, but they were just really strict with us and the timings and the timelines and the speeches that are in there. So unfortunately, we won't be able to fit it in. Then anyway, I went off and double checked with the bride's sister. She then said, absolutely no performances, no surprises, because obviously, and I get it, if you add one side's performance in, then it looks bad that the other side haven't done something, so it's better to just keep it fair. So then I went to go and warn the DJ and said, I think someone's going to come up to you soon and ask to do a surprise performance, probably ask for a mic check. You're going to have to tell her no. And then I went back to her and basically said that I spoke to the groom as well, and there just can't be any performances, but maybe you could do it at the post-event tomorrow or something like that. But it took about 4 times of me telling her no.
Yeah, I mean, the DJ was actually really good on that day. He just said blame it on me.
Yeah.
Just say I didn't have the equipment set up or the mic set up to be able to do ad hoc performances, which is actually very, very handy. Yeah.
Yeah, but it is hard, I think, when these family members come up and they all say that they're super close, and so then that means they can override the bride and groom's plans and then almost make you feel really bad for saying no. So it's a tricky one, but I mean, we do it for you guys, so you don't have to.
What about the time that issues with the suppliers? So there was that bar company who turned up to the event and didn't bring the bar menus, which actually on the surface doesn't sound like a big deal, right? If they've still got the alcohol, then they can just make the drinks. But if a couple have spent time curating and having a back and forth conversation about the types of cocktails they want and giving specific names to these cocktails which are based on their personality or their favourite drinks, it's an annoying thing for the couple if nobody knows what to order. They might just say, oh, can I get a porn star martini? That's not one of their special cocktails. That obviously meant something to them. Yeah. How did you save the day, Priya?
So I was quick thinking. I just went onto Canva because it was turnaround time. Went onto Canva, quickly designed it, made sure I confirmed what drinks were being served with the bar company, designed it, added the couple's logo, added some images of drinks, and luckily I love Canva and designed lots of our own menus for our wedding, so I actually turned out really good. Then I emailed it to the hotel, and again luckily we were in a venue that was a hotel or had a printer. Asked the venue to then print off a few copies, and then made sure that they were put into the frames that the bar company had brought, so it was ready to go. So when the drinks reception started, no one had any. I don't think the couple even know till this day that we did that. But like you said, it's not that deep of a thing on the surface, but they've made effort to pick these drinks. But more importantly, it disrupts service, because as you said, people will come to the bar and be like, can I have that? Oh, which one's a mocktail? Oh, what's in here? What alcohol's in this cup? Like, it just longs things out. And there's nothing worse than a queue at a bar. So just have the menus there, and then people can pick as they go. But yeah, that was my quick thinking in turnaround. Very and good. Canva skills.
Yeah. If I had done that, that would have been a proper like Microsoft Word art job.
Times New Roman.
Yeah. Bit of underlining, maybe something in bold.
Okay, why don't you talk about, and I love this story, when you saved the day and you brought the bride's grandma, quite literally physically brought the bride's grandma to the wedding.
I feel like I need to caveat this story because I don't think I should be doing stuff like this.
No, I agree.
To people's grandmas. No, so we were at a wedding, and things were running a little bit late because of the family. Went downstairs, and the bride's father's downstairs and looks very upset. And I asked him why he was upset, and he said that his mum was in her hotel room and that he wanted her to be at the ceremony. Bear in mind the ceremony's already started. And I said, okay, why is she in the room? And he said, nobody brought her from her room. And I said, do you want me to go get her? And he said, yes, please. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'll help this poor man out. He looks really upset that his mum's not here for his daughter's wedding.
Can I interrupt and also say Nim is guest welfare management, but also elderly management? Like, they are his fortes.
Yeah, man. I'm the voice of the elderly. You actually... the last generation. Generation? Yeah, the last... Yeah. Anyway, so I said, okay, cool, where is she? And he said, oh, she's in Abercorn room or some room. And I was like, okay. Walked down the corridor, went to the reception. I said, okay, where's Abercorn room? And they said, oh, you just go down there, and just sort of pointed into the distance. I said, great, how far is it? And she said, oh, you have to drive there. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, it's about a 5-minute drive. And I was like, right, okay, so this is in a golf course, so get in my car. Again, sort of the wheels are turning in my head to think, I really hope that this poor lady is going to be able to walk into my car. Drive down the road, park up at this, Abercorn room, knock on the door, and somebody opens the door. And I was like, great, maybe she's the grandma. Nope, turn around, and she's the sister of the bride's dad, and the grandma's in bed and quite clearly can't walk. Like, you know, you can just tell somebody can't walk. She's in the bed. And I said, okay, right. So, and then her daughter starts screaming at me, asking me why I didn't bring a disabled vehicle to pick up her mum. And I said, well, because I'm the wedding planner / coordinator. And then she said, how is she going to get out of the bed? I said, how does she normally get out of the bed? And she says, with a hoist. I said, where's the hoist? And she said, the hoist is at home. I'm like, right, so how was she planning on getting out of the bed? Essentially, long story short, I had to carry her out of the bed, carry her into the car, and then wheel her up to the room. This whole I say ordeal, this whole experience took about 45 minutes. Meanwhile, I can hear you screaming through the radio saying, Nim, where are you? Nim, where are you?
Because I didn't know, you said you went to get the grandma. I obviously didn't know that, like, I don't know what was going on. So I was like, why has he been gone for an hour? Like, there's a lot going on here. Like, I need you back. Then, bless Nim, I just see him, like, with the wheelchair, like, wheeling her into the front row. And my heart, I was like, oh my God, bless you. But also, again, had we not been there, she wouldn't have come to the wedding. And that's not our job, and we won't be doing that again. I mean, we made an exception. Obviously, you're a doctor, so you have experience
manual handling.
I mean, you have experience generally with handling patients and elderly and whatever, and we definitely won't do that again. But it was more just, again, when people are thinking about these things, if you have anyone with mobility issues, any elderly issues, wheelchairs, like, please make sure you're thinking about where they're staying, how they're getting there. Delegate people in your family who are responsible for wheeling them there, or if they need special, like, requirements from the venue or whatever, like, think about these things in advance. I think the team did a wedding recently where I think one of the bride or groom's parents were in a wheelchair, but they'd booked a venue that didn't have a lift. and they had booked for the parent to stay at the venue, but they couldn't get up to the rooms, they couldn't stay there. But I'm like, again, that was just like an on the day, so we didn't have any involvement in the planning. But you need to be like really thinking about these things for people that have mobility issues, because you can't just expect for it to be sorted out on the day. Like nobody else is going to be able to help with that. Why don't we talk about then quite a few times that we've been at a wedding, checked the table plan, etc. 3 or 4 people will turn up and be like, oh, I'm not on the seating plan. And we're like, did you RSVP? They're like, oh, I'm not sure. I don't think so. But I mean, the parents said it'd be fine if I just, come. And we're like, well, obviously it's not fine because there's no seats. It's literally already rammed in there. Where are we going to magic up your
that's
places?
The worst. I think the issue with that is historically, Asian weddings particularly were just an event where parents invited everyone in the village, or like everyone they've ever met.
Yeah.
And it was in a school hall or some sort of large venue, and then they have some caterer who's just mass producing like hundreds and hundreds of plates worth of food. And I think people sometimes think that weddings haven't evolved since those times.
Yeah.
And so you can just turn up to a wedding and not RSVP, find a chair and just sit at a table. But times have changed for the most part. And so there is a seating plan. There are set places everyone's sitting. Oftentimes there are allergies or vegetarian tables or specific dietaries depending on where you're sitting. And so you can't just like grab a seat and sit somewhere.
Yeah.
We've been at weddings where people would just turn up knowingly that they haven't RSVP'd, and we just have to like troubleshoot. And the worst part is often sort of 5 minutes or less than 5 minutes before the couple are about to enter the room, and they're just standing there like in the entrance saying, I don't have a seat.
Yeah.
And as if it's like
our fault. And they're not like, I'm so sorry to trouble you, like it's our fault for not RSVPing, is there anything you can do? It's like, well, find me a seat then. And I'm like, if you'd RSVP'd, you'd be on, there's a reason you're obviously not on the table plan, like and again, we would then obviously speak to the caterers, go and get 2 extra chairs, you'd bring them in, you'd find spaces on, or either get people to squish or find spaces on tables, arrange for extra place settings, double check if they've got any dietary requirements. Like it's a lot. It's not just like pop in and find a seat. There's a lot of things you have to consider, like, about it. And that's happened more than once. So guys, please make sure you tell all your guests to RSVP and reiterate that they can't then just turn up on the day if they haven't got back to you. It's just wild. Why don't we talk about when you dabbled in a bit of decor at the Shard when we did a wedding at the Shangri-La?
Oh yeah. See, all of these stories, when you say them by themselves, they don't seem that deep. But actually on the day, it felt like we were like saving the day. And I think we did in some respects.
Did.
So this is, we did a wedding at the Shard. And there was a turnaround time. And so there was a civil in the morning, and then a seated meal afterwards. And for the seated meal, like we had the packs out, and the decor was that there was going to be some foliage as the centerpiece. Looking around, decor company aren't coming back because they've just done the morning decor, and then so the venue were just setting up the tables, but there's nothing. It's just a kind of plain table, but you're at a very sort of bougie, aesthetically pleasing venue, but there was nothing in the middle. Rang the decor company just to say, hey, there's supposed to be like some decor in the middle of the table, and they said there was a bit back and forth, and eventually they just said, okay, that was a mistake on our part. We didn't actually leave the foliage there, so there isn't anything to decorate the tables with. And I think in that moment, most people would have just either just said, okay, it is what it is, or they might have just flagged to the groom or the bride, oh, hey, by the way, there's no decor, just to kind of give them a heads up. But instead, I decided to go to Borough Market and buy flowers to put in the table. Well, not flowers, what was it? Foliage. To put as the decor. And then got some scissors and just got a bit creative and then just put the decor out in the middle of the tables.
Yeah. And again, I guess that just shows like having a coordinator, because if you didn't have a coordinator there, nobody's checking your centerpieces, nobody's checking to make sure that things have been set up as they need to be, so it wouldn't have been flagged. So the couple would have walked in and been like, why do my tables look bare? And you can see on couples' faces when they're walking in, if they've noticed something, it shows straight away. So they would have walked in and been pissed off about it. They then would have probably try to contact the decor team at some point during the night to be like, hey, what's going on? Because they've obviously paid for it. It was a decor company's fault. And it's fine, like mistakes happen, but at least we figured it out and we came up with a solution, and we went to the extra mile of literally going shopping in Borough Market and in St Mirren yourself, like just cutting up foliage and making centerpieces, and it actually looked really nice. Like it was very similar to what it was meant to be, because we had the inspo picture, and you did a great job.
Thank you. Next business venture.
Yeah. As if we don't have enough. Okay, let's talk about, there was one that Sahani and I did recently where basically it was a really hot, I think it was a really hot day, and the groom fainted. But as he fainted, the way that he hit the floor, he basically like cut his like forehead, and it wasn't a massive cut, but it was quite deep, so there was a lot of blood. The bride hates blood, so she saw him faint, and then she fainted. So I was like to Sahani, like, how have there been 2 medical emergencies in honestly at 30 seconds? And so then we ran and got the medical emergency kit. And again, this is where my Max Facts previous experience came in useful. But basically, I just like cleaned it and then cut up the bandage into like little tiny strips, and then like what we call steri strips, like basically just like tried to close as much as possible. The issue was he really didn't want that on for his entrance, obviously, to like have this like kind of
what
bandage.
Did he want? Just like blood dripping down
his face?
As
in like, but it was bad because there'd been a lot of blood, like his whole shirt was covered in blood. I don't think he went on his tux jacket, luckily, even though that was white. So then I think luckily his brother had a spare shirt, so he had to go up and change. The bride, I think, was just a bit like overwhelmed because again it was hot, and then she saw her fiance pass out and he was bleeding, and obviously, but she was fine. We gave her lots of sugary drinks and just kind of re-fanned her down. For him, we kept the dressing on for as long as possible, and then before his entrance quickly took it off, made him like do his entrance, and then as soon as he sat down just kind of took him to the side and popped it back on again. And luckily they had a few like doctors in the family as well, so they also came and just checked it after and made sure that it was okay. And then the next day I did say to him, I was like, look, like you need to get this actually stitched or you're going to scar, like so like please go to A&E. Like I know you're probably thinking it's going to be fine, but like I really would recommend it. And they went to A&E the next day. But again, like having us there to like speak to the venue, get the medical emergency kit. Family members can be very flappy in those situations and like really flustered, and I think just having us there to deal with it helped. And then like while I was dealing with that, Sahani then went and let all the suppliers know, pushed back timings for dinner, for the DJ, and just adapted around it.
That's why you need a medically qualified wedding planner and coordinator. That's essential.
Really is.
Them, yeah.
It really is. I was teaching Sahani. I was like, Sahani, just in case it happens again, this is what you do. You cut it like this, you pull it like that, and this is when she was like, I actually hate blood, but I mean, this is good life experience.
So there was another wedding that we were at, and this was really weird actually. Obviously it's a proper wedding, right? Otherwise they're not going to hire us. On the catering requirements in our pack, it said that the dad was providing food for like 5 or 7 people.
Yeah.
And I remember asking you at the time, and I don't really understand, Priya, like why is the dad on his daughter's wedding providing food for the guests? But I remember you saying that he really likes serving his guests. They had really specific dietary requirements. Yeah. And I think the caterers couldn't accommodate.
Yeah, the caterers couldn't accommodate. So I think the dad was like, I'll just
bring it in my van.
Yeah.
And bear in mind, there were 2 events on the same day. So there was a wedding and then there was the reception in the evening. And what happened was at the wedding, he gave out all the food for the entire day. So then when the reception came, there wasn't any food to give his guests because he forgot or he had.
And I remember you went up to him to be like, Uncle, can you give us the food that needs to be served? We'll get it to the caterers.
Yeah,
and then
he felt so bad.
Bless him.
He was really sweet. I don't know, what did we do? I think we just gave them some rice or something.
I think we just tried to see if the caterers could do anything, and it ended up not being very much. But again, this goes back to like trying not to delegate too much to your family, because it's really easy before on paper to be like, oh, dad doing this, mum doing this, sister bringing this, but there's so much going on, it's so chaotic, it's very scatty that people, and they're so conscious about speaking to guests and hosting and doing this, and like if you're bringing a million things, you're bound to forget some things. And so I think again, it's just really, really important to make sure that you try and literally not give your family members anything to do.
Agree. Immediate family members shouldn't be responsible for anything on the actual wedding day.
Preach.
They are the main focus of the day.
Mm-hmm.
They are the event. So if they're having to like go to the car, make phone calls, pick things up, drop things places, be responsible for moving things around, they're then not going to be in the actual wedding, and then all it's going to do is just going to delay everything.
Yeah. So true. And they're just stressed. You can tell when they're stressed. They're not having fun. They're running around. Like, let them just enjoy their day.
Even if they are the kind of person who, for other people's weddings, they're normally the go-to helpers. When it's your actual family member's wedding, you've got to delegate.
Yeah.
And
To
book a
coordinators.
planner.
Yeah, 100%. It will completely change your experience and their experience. But anyway, they were just some examples that we came up with just to give you an idea about things that can go wrong that you don't plan for, whether it's like suppliers like being ill or not coming because of certain situations, whether it's other family members that you haven't accounted for, whether it's random guests turning up. Like, there is so much that is out of your control, and it goes back to what we were just saying. Like, when you're spending all of this time and effort and importantly money, you don't want to have a stressful day. You don't want to have a day where you've just been running around like a headless chicken, all these suppliers coming up to you to double check things because they've got no one else. You want someone you trust, who you get on with, who understands what's important to you both and will execute it. And if things go wrong, like, we'll sort it. We'll come up with a plan B, we'll find an alternative solution, and we'll try not to tell you about it, so you guys can just have the best time.
Preach. I think that was a good note to end on.
Yeah, it was actually. I feel like there's loads we could talk about. That was just kind of like a few we could think of.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll do a part 2 of these soon if you guys found this helpful. And see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks for listening.
Please like, follow, subscribe for more.